Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com, and this is Disconnect to Connect, One Word Conversations. Now, I'm excited about today, not just within our conversation, but this is my first day broadcasting also live on the Empowerment Duo page. So I'd like to welcome that audience to One Word Conversation. You guys have been family long before this show and everything. So I am honored to have your support. The other thing that I want to remind you of is this week I am premiering a new show on YouTube live at 8 p.m. Called Join in the Conversation. It's I guess it's a call-in show, or it's something where I invite the viewers in to kind of review some of the conversations that we've had in the past and kind of start a new conversation. So just join in on our page is Disconnect to Connect Conversations YouTube page, and you might come on to the show and be a part of the guests. So the conversation that we're going to have today is around work, and how does work show up for you? I think for me, there's a lot of things that come to mind when work is mentioned, that I don't know who the quote is attributed to. It's like now with Facebook fact checking every quote, it feels like that, the problem with opportunity is that sometimes it shows up as work, or it can be as work. And so I don't know if I paraphrased that at all, but yeah, so joining me in this conversation is a dear friend of mine, and we'll just talk about work and see where it goes. Good morning, sir.
Hey, William, how are you, sir?
I am doing wonderful. This is the time where I ask my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable.
So I'm Mark Sylvester, and I am building a global communications agency that helps organizations more effectively communicate through storytelling.
Well, that's nice and succinct. It's like, okay. So how does work land for you?
So I'm also a podcaster, and I remember interviewing a poet philosopher who said, if your 5 to 9 life is different than your 9 to 5 life, you're doing it wrong. And I totally believe that. So I also know that my dad, when I was 12, told me that, he says, we're not rich. You're going to work for the rest of your life. So make sure you're always doing something that you enjoy doing, that you don't regret having to go to work or dislike it. So I've just been in a position my whole life to always look at it that way and be willing to walk away from a job that I didn't like. I also am a very terrible employee. So I've been entrepreneurial since I was in high school, and pretty much been my own boss and the boss of others for a long time, and have thought about the work environment and the team environment, which I think is really the word. I don't think the word is work. I think the word is team, because I don't think we get anything done by ourselves at all anymore. And even now in these days, the more refreshing, rewarding, enjoyable way to spend time is co-creating something with someone else.
No, I totally get that. I think because of my understanding of work, or how work was first introduced to me, was as a young lad, feeling that the work was this thing that you had to do. It wasn't something that you chose to do. It was like, If you're going to eat, you got to work. If you want to, live here, you got to work. You got to do that. And I think the last 5 years years ago or so, I've been hearing a lot of, this concept of doing your work. It's that internal work, or that internal things that you have to do to kind of have the self-discovery that yourself. And it is a painful and exciting and sometimes difficult thing to kind of, do my work and kind of look at what is going on in my life. But I wonder if it's the reason why the self-discovery work, that I'm on, is it difficult because of how I just look at the word work?
Well, I will not ignore the fact that, we have to work because we need to have some exchange of value to put money in the bank to be able to pay our mortgage and feed our families and do the things that we want to do. So there has to be something there. But I absolutely don't believe that you have to do something you don't like just in exchange for a paycheck. That's soul sucking. That's not what I'm interested in at all. So I thankfully, when I don't know if this is thankful, but when I was 12 and I needed money for something, my mom said, go figure out how to get it. I was 12. I just needed some money. And I went out and what can you do in the neighborhood to make money? You can mow lawns. That's about it. And I found with some buddies that what we could do is we could clean garages. And then with older friends of ours, we could take the stuff that we cleaned out of the garages and take it to swap meets and sell it on the weekends.
Right.
So you make your own opportunities. And I don't know if I'm unique in that way. I don't think I am. A lot of the people that I associate with are looking at how to make their own opportunity. And it typically comes from having a problem that you want to solve, and you don't stop until you've solved that problem. And once you've done that, you say, I bet there's other people that have this exact same problem. And that's really the hero's journey, isn't it? Where we hear the call, we go on we find someone to help us along that path. We go through all of our struggles till we hit some success, and then we come back and teach that. And it's through that all of the great entrepreneurial successes have been made. You can deconstruct all of them and figure it out. That's kind of what they did. So it's work, it's play, it's all of those things.
It's all of those things. And I, to go back to, as you said, that maybe the word isn't work, it's team. And so is there an awareness of what work is yours and what work is your team members, or what, in that co-creation, in that way of going through on your journey? Is there work that needs to be done, alone by yourself, so then you can join a team to create a bigger work, or a more lasting. I don't know what exactly the words are with it, but it just feels like too often for me, the reason why I didn't have the level of collaborations or co-creations was because there was a work that I didn't do, before I joined forces with someone, and then there was a power struggle or something, or there is something. Is there a more of an individual work that needs to get done? I guess that's where I am.
I think there's a world where they both exist. People don't quit their job, they quit the team. If you go and deconstruct that, you'll find that the company was fine. The team where you were on was the wrong fit for you, possibly. We don't quit work, we quit the team. And if we look at high performing team, and I've been studying teams and talent and culture and organizational development for years, more as a hobby. I had a software company that kind of took those kind of things into account. But if we look at a team, what are the things that make it successful? One, that you've opted into that team, so I want to be on that team. Two, that there's a clear leader of the team. Three, that there are clear rules of the road, rules of engagement. How do we behave? And there are clear goals so that we know when we've reached those goals. And there's a scoreboard so we know how we did as a team, both as individual contributors and co-creators in that team. And then the fifth that is what I think people forget is that a high-performing team has a lot of fun. They enjoy being with one another. And those 5 aspects of a high-performing team are in play whenever you see a group of people, even if it's an informal team at work, the people that you tend to have lunch with, or the people that you're on an after work team with. Those 5 things come into play. And if you're missing one of them, there isn't a clear leader, or you don't exactly know your role, because the rules and responsibilities and the framing suggest that I know what I'm contributing. I know that the other team members are counting on me to do what I need to do. I know they have my back. They know I have their back. And they know that at the highest order, that I want them to look good more than I want myself to look good. And when you go into a team with that selfless attitude, it's been my experience that you win. And if someone in that that unit, which is typically less than 8 people, is not reaching one of those goals, you can look back and say, which one of the 5 things is not happening here, and then go to work on that. And then you'll either find that person needs to find a new team, or they'll rise to the challenge. Most people do once you set it out nice and clear, like I just did.
Right. One of within the framework of disconnect to connect, work is an area of focus. And, so I want people to maximize their time at work, or look how, basically have an awareness how they're showing up within their work. And I think when you look at, what's going on in our country and I guess the world, I think what this pandemic is doing for us is allowing us, if we are willing, to kind of redefine our relationship to our work. And it's, there are a lot of people and organizations that said, oh, you can't telecommute, you can't work, you can't work from home, you're not productive, you're all the things that people said. But now, because of necessity, a lot of people are working at home, or not working in an office, and really looking at the a large percentage of people who have lost their job or doesn't have like work, and now how they see themselves and how this pandemic is showing up for them is totally different. Really, it's very hard for a number of people that I've talked to of how they can, work on themselves, kind of see what their next is going to be. And it's like very difficult because in their mind, work was their job. And so what do you think in this time that we're in, that how work is going to play itself out? Or is it going to stay the same and people were just going to have to find different ways to adapt to it?
Well, there's a lot there to unpack. So to as of this recording, the 36 million people who are out of a job right now, I don't have an answer. There's a ton of work that needs to be done, service level work, all kinds of jobs. I was a chef until I was 30, so I have a fondness for the restaurant business. My daughter's in hospitality. I've got clients in the event business. There's massive, massive, massive disruption throughout the world, and who knows how long it's going to take to sort itself out. That being said, during the Depression, I heard, and someone could fact check this, I'm sure they will, that there were more millionaires made during the Depression than at any other time in our history. And so I've kind of kept that little nugget going in my head, thinking, how do I create a depression-proof business? And then I work with a lot of clients who are, that's kind of my point of view is how do we take what you were doing and turn it into what you're going to do? How can you utilize that unique gift that you've got, whatever that idea is, what that thing is, and how do you become a part of a virtual team, virtual business? How do you, there's a million answers to that, and everyone is desperately looking for that. And I think if you asked yourself, like if I was coaching you, I would ask you 3 simple questions. They would start with, what outcome are you looking for? Typically, that's going to be something financial. So like, what would you like your W-2 to be in 3 years, right? So it's like, kind of, let's work backwards, right? Big to small. What's your objective? Then how will we measure that? So it's easy with a W-2 to do that, but if there's other kinds of measurements that you put in place. And then what value would that goal having been met mean to you? And that I'm looking more for intrinsic value, higher order social value. So if we start there and figure that out, like right now, a lot of people have a clean slate, right? And it feels really scary. I completely get that. It's very, very scary. When I was cooking 2 or 3 jobs, working shift work and raising my son at the time, losing one of those projects for one reason or another was scary. So I get that. Once you've figured that out, then what we like to do is say, well, gosh, if you could build anything, what would you like to build? Like, what would that look like? And fortunately, 20 years ago, 19 plus change years ago, we started a software company, and we had a mentor who said, how do you two, my wife and I started this business, how do you two want to spend your day? He called it owner's desire. Like, what's your day look like? Like, really, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, how much time are you working? How much time are you, all of that stuff. So once you understand what you're building, which is when you asked me to introduce myself, I gave you my building statement, and you went, wow, that was succinct. Needs to be succinct, because you know it's that everything I do has to have some kind of relationship to the thing that I'm building. Because either the thing I'm doing is either making me money or making me happy, or if I'm blessed, it's doing both. So once you understand your objective, how you're going to measure it, what the value is, you know what you're building, you build yourself a stretch goal 3-year plan. That's pretty darn good. I mean, that's kind of what my TED Talk was about, was how do you, and my particular background as a computer animator, computer software designer, is that I want to see what I think, and I helped people, directors, product designers, engineers, see what was in their head so that they could communicate that thing to other people. And I've
Hmm.
turned that into a way to help people see what they think so that they could visualize a future for themselves. And we have this opportunity, like you said, sometimes everything got swept away. Think about it. I'm thinking about it right now. It's like the tsunami that came in and wiped everything out for those people. I mean, and this happens a lot. This kind of has done the same thing for a lot of people. It's wiped everything out. It didn't, but you're not dead, and you're going to
Right.
continue. So you kind of get to choose what you want to do and figure it out.
Right. Yeah, I think it's in that our choosing. I think life is all about our choosing, and especially how we show up in our work and for our work. And I think in some cases, I mean, I guess this is a soapbox issue for me. It's like we are educated to not to basically to go to work, but not kind of make choices about our work. You know what I mean? It is filled. So it's like, okay, I'm going to fit into this box, and now this box is gone because of this tsunami, because of this pandemic. Now it's like, crap, I have to. You're asking me to create another box, or you're asking me to create something else. That's that's kind of hard because we were conditioned to say, okay, this is work. This is what you do.
That's
This
why
is
it's
how
called
this
work.
is
If
how I
it
do
was
it.
easy, that's why it's called
Right.
work, William. It's hard.
Right.
Whether you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for someone else, it's work. It's hard.
Right.
You got to burn some calories.
Right. As an entrepreneur, I've had many moments of, I have some good news and bad news. The good news is I am the boss. The bad news is I'm the boss, right? And I have to balance, all that out. And so those choices that I make, I think some of the other thing that, my starts and stops in my entrepreneurial journey has been, why me? Or is this something that I I should be doing, or I have credibility doing, or if I'm passionate about, I'm just kind of really kind of unpacking that for myself because, I saw myself getting, comparing myself to what other people were doing or are not doing. And in some cases, it had nothing to do with what I wanted to do or what I was passionate about or what made me happy. It was just like, okay, am I going to give myself permission to do this? And will people also not just give me permission, but pay me, to do something that I'm passionate about instead of um, just accepting it. And I think that passion, because it's like, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. But that sounds good, but there is work within there, right?
Oh, it's absolutely. The I think one of the exercises we do that would really help you is to and person listening is to take out a big piece of white paper. I use those huge sticky notes that are like
Right.
this big, and our house is covered in them because that's
Right.
how I think standing up and drawing. And uh, imagine what your ideal day or your ideal week looks like. What are all the things that you're doing? What are all the things you love to do? All the stuff. It's meeting with people, brainstorming with people, reviewing things, writing things, designing, solving. I'm a systems thinker, so I work from big to small. So like, what's the big goal, and then work it all the way down to the pixel level. What's the individual little tiny thing that needs to get done? What is it you like to do, and
Right.
put that on a huge, so you can look at that thing and then say, make another list of what you don't like to do,
Hmm.
and look at those two lists and just sit with that for a little bit. You have time. You don't need to rush through this. And then look at that and say, then map that against what you're doing today and how much of what you love to do is embedded in how you spend your time, and how much of what you don't like to do is in there. And then you get to make a third list, which is, what am I not going to do? There's a lot of power in that list. What am I not going to do? Because if you've already established that building statement, what are you building? Then what you're not going to do is going to be governed a bit by my doing that thing. It's distracting me from the thing I want to build. And once you've done that kind of work, there's a wonderful clarity that comes from it. And then you can't make all the things you don't like just disappear. I'm not into magical thinking, but you can set a 3-year goal for yourself. We call them stakes in the ground. I'm going to put a stake in the ground 36 months from now. And then I'm going to work backwards from that. And every day I know what I need to get done to get to that goal. I was listening to a video that one of our clients was interviewed for, and it was all of these people in the event industry and the very high-end destination events, and these are all the one percenters in the country. And this one planner said, she says, I know, it's the way I run my life, I know 18 months from now on Monday at 4 p.m. exactly what I'm doing. They're planners. That's what they do. She said, now I'm not sure what I'm doing next week. So the stake in the ground gives you a plan. I've got mine. I'm looking at it. It's on the wall on one of those white stickies. Knows everything I have to do down to what do I have to do in the next 9 days? What do I have to do in the next 9 weeks? What do I have to do in the next 9 months? What do I have to do in the next 18 months to get to that goal? Now, am I perfect in adhering to that? No, I'm human. Right. But do I have a plan towards getting to that? And as a result, can I teach that plan to others so that they can get to their goals and reach their dreams? Absolutely. That absolutely. Then it doesn't feel like work only because you've decided to go on a journey to create a life for yourself, whatever that is. I'm agnostic of what it is. If it lights you up, it lights me up. And once you're on that journey, if you're going to complain, hey, you're the one who picked it. You're the one who decided you want to do it. If it's not giving you joy, Marie Kondo with the KonMari method, of cleaning our house and cleaning our office, I kind of think of condifying everything, which is, if that thing I'm doing, I don't love it anymore, I thank it for the joy it gave me, give it away, and do something else. I mean, there's no one holding my feet to the fire other than myself and the people around me that I've asked them to help me be accountable.
Right. No, I think that's great. I am definitely going to go through those steps because, for me, a large part of my life has been, either or. It has, either I'm going to have fun or I'm not. It's not anything. And because I think we're both we played tennis, or I played tennis, and I don't know if you played tennis for some reason. For some, I thought you played tennis at some point, so maybe I'm confusing you with someone else. But I enjoyed tennis until I got to a level that people thought that I was good. And then because they thought I was good, then I had to work harder to be better than good. And then it wasn't fun for me anymore. Then it was work. And it's like, geez, I just want to have fun. And I wasn't able to connect to the fun because of the work to, to be better. And so just trying to, stay passionate about things. And I think it comes up with, I don't want to connect my passion to my work or to anything that I'm getting paid for, because I want to enjoy, what I'm passionate about. And I don't want to get it bogged down in my idea of work. Am I overthinking this, or does that kind of make sense?
Oh, you're absolutely overthinking it, because now that's when I said that if your 5 to 9, which is my after work, is
Right.
different than your 9 to 5, then you're missing out on things. That's
Right.
where, Simon Sinek famously, taught us all to question the why we do stuff. And that's
Right.
where in my parlance, it's what's the outcome you're looking for? That's my why. This is the outcome I want. If every day I got up and I was just unhappy that, oh man, I've got to answer emails and I've got to do that plan and I've got to write that about page and I've got to do this and I've got to do that, that's a miserable existence. And I get it that people have drudgery in life. I get that. But I also believe that you can quit that and go find the thing that you love to do. You can do
Mm.
both. Jim Collins in Good to Great said famously, don't be subject to the tyranny of the or, rather celebrate the and. Right?
Mm.
I can work and have fun. I can work and be passionate about it, rather than the tyranny of the or. Well, it's I'm working or I'm having fun. No, I don't subscribe to that. Now, granted, I may be an edge case, and I would, gladly understand that. But the people that I
Right.
choose to hang out with, they really enjoy the work, because the work stuff just doesn't get done unless you produce, you make, you do things, you sweat, you toil. Because why do we do that? Because we want that output to be better, so we work at it, we
Right.
study. 30% of how we spend our time is in professional development, reading, classes, studying, getting better. We're also martial artists, my wife and I. And so
Mm.
we think about it as sharpening our swords. So we're
Mm.
constantly sharpening our swords. The lifestyle of a lifelong learning is one of joy in that new nugget that I learned today. I'm going to learn something today. I don't know what it is until tonight when I
Right.
look back. And that's a wonderful way to go through life, to think that I'm going to learn something. I'm going to learn that I need to write better email subject lines so people will open my email. I mean, it could be that level of detail, just something simple like that. Is that work?
Right.
Yeah. No. Yes. Both.
Right. I think, I'm the labels guy. A lot of people call me that, and I try to, a part of my conversation is inviting people to live beyond their labels. And I think too often, I do this for myself, and I do that, and so I see that in some of the people that I coach about mislabeling. And so there's a lot of things. Sometimes I mislabel because I want to nicen it up. I mislabel.
Give me an
I,
example of that.
I mislabel my fear, because fear is tough. I don't want to say it's like, I will call it being responsible. You know, I'm not doing this because I'm being responsible or thoughtful, and it's really just fear. you know, and the more that I embrace that what I'm experiencing right now is fear, then I can make a decision or choice to be, to have courage to kind of move beyond that. But if I label it as being responsible, I will approach it totally different. And then there is this fear running around in the background of the decisions that I'm making that, cause me to really not live an life. It's an or life, as I say. And so the more that I am willing to, go back to the phrase of do the work, ask the question, what is this really? Where is this? How am I labeling this? Or how is this occurring to me? Then I can make the choices and decisions and basically live in my life or live in my work the way it will make a difference for me and my community and the people that I care about. And so it's like, really expanding my understanding of work and recognizing that, it's hard, it's fun, it's all of those things. I'm learning, all of those things that are connected to my work will allow me to stay in it. And is it within the framework of, you have to love the process? Is work just the process of living? I don't know.
Is that the title of our show?
Right.
I think
the process of living work.
I think one of the things that we all have to, I don't want to be prescriptive. One of the goals is to be honest with ourselves. Just be honest with yourself, because you're not doing yourself or anybody around you any favors when you're not. So when you're reframing words to make them more palatable, just be afraid. If you're afraid, be afraid. And have someone in your life that you can say, I'm afraid, because we're not strong all the time, straight up. So have someone in your life, whether it's a mentor, it's a partner, it's a loved one, but someone that you have a deep enough relationship of trust. They have your back, that you can say, I'm afraid. Be vulnerable. Be honest with yourself. And in that moment, you will experience true growth, because someone will talk you through that and help you see something you can't see, because you're all wrapped up in your own story that's making you afraid.
Right.
And fear stems from the unknown. I don't know what's going to happen. That's making me afraid. I don't know what's going to happen when I go to launch this new business, and it makes me afraid because I don't know. It's a fear of the unknown. Right. We all get afraid, and not everybody has someone that they can go talk to at that level of honesty. If you think back right now, if you can make a list of those people in your life, if you don't have anybody, then that's your job right now, is to find that person, because we all need someone that we know they have our back. Now, in my world, one of the things I do, I'm an improv comedian. And what the last thing we say before we high five each other and go on stage is, we look each other in the eye. We say, I've got your back. And the reason we do that is it takes a lot of boldness to be able to be on the side, on the back line or on the sideline, and the host will get a word and give the word to the troupe, and someone's going to have to walk out onto that cold stage and start something. And that is an incredible amount of courage. And they know that it kind of doesn't matter what they say. Whatever they say is the right thing to say, because one of us is going to come out there and offer them something up as a gift to what they said, And in a couple of seconds, we're dancing, and it's working because I want them to be successful and feel supported. They want me, and I know fully well that they're doing the same for me, and that the 4 or 6 or 8 of us are in it together. There's something magical about that feeling, and it helps you take that risk. And the audience wants you to succeed. They don't want you to fail. They want you to succeed, and they applaud the risk that you're taking. So how do we
Right.
move that thinking into our day-to-day, into that thing that we do that people pay us for? And it's knowing
Right.
that the people you're with, back to the team, have your back and are supporting you and want you to succeed and will applaud the risk you took.
Right. No, I really appreciate it. You kind of really brought a lot of things home for me. I don't want to say I was resisting the team, aspect of work, but really recognizing that identifying people, or individuals, loved ones, or that support system that will allow you, that'll give you the space to do your work, to show up, in this life is definitely, I feel, a key. We could talk about this for hours, but I'm sure that, there are other things that have your attention for today. Other than that, is there anything that you want to leave us with, today?
Um, I mean, there's a lot. I'd love people go to my website and they can see the things that I'm interested in. I would say um, I've been profoundly affected by 3 things in my life. One is martial arts training, living a martial life. Courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and indomitable spirit are the tenets of the martial art that we practice called Hapkido. That's number one. Teaches us how to be present in the moment. Number two would be meditation. I only started meditating 5 years ago. I wish I had been taught that when I was 12. They're teaching meditation in K-12 now. I had a story about what I thought meditation was that was completely wrong, and it has
Right.
taught me to be present and self-aware. And the third is improv. There are improv troops all over America. It is very, very fun. It's very scary, but it's also exhilarating. You get to meet a bunch
Right.
of new, really, really smart people. But all of those things are about being present, about listening, about being compassionate and empathetic, about taking care of yourself. And all of those skills combine to make my work much better. People love to work with me, love to work for me. I love to work with and for other people, clients, because that's how I show up, very present, paying attention, listening, taking care of the other person. And all of
Right.
that wraps up into my nonprofit work, which is I'm in the TEDx community. So I'm the co-producer with my wife of TEDx Santa Barbara, and part of a group of 4,000 organizers around the world whose mission it is to bring ideas to our local stages that can be spread and change the world. When you think
Right.
about the TED Talk, whatever TED Talk it is that you love the most, that was one person on one day sharing one idea that changed the world. And there's hundreds, thousands of examples of that. I remember when I walked on the stage a couple of years ago at TEDx Fargo with my friend Greg, who had invited me. My wife, who's one of the top speaker coaches in the country, said to me in the hour before I went on, she says, remember, you only have to change one mind.
Hmm.
And when I finished my talk, I was the closing speaker out of 25 speakers that day in an auditorium of 4,000 people. A group of Somali art students came up to me, and this one guy, I'm tall, I'm 6'4". He was taller than me, big kid. And he
Hmm.
said, "Mr. Sylvester, I want to thank you." And I said, "Well, thank you very much." He goes, "You have given me permission to see the world through the eyes I see the world through, in pictures and thinking about things visually and solving problems visually." And he said, "Thank you so much, because that validated my worldview, validated his worldview." And
Wow.
I like, that was the one guy. That
Great.
was the one guy. And that for me, that was success then. Now, hopefully that that way of looking at the world through what I call see what you think has changed more lives than just that one, but I'll call that a success.
Absolutely. No, that was a beautiful sharing, and I think too often, um, for myself, I make my work this big thing, and I have to touch millions of people, and I have to do all this other kind of stuff. And the more that I can reduce it down to touch one person, that's worth any time or effort or or thought that goes into it. So thank you very much. Do you
You're
have a
welcome.
moment to? Do you have to sit in the green room for a little bit while I close the show?
Sure. Great.
And then, but thank you very much. This has definitely been great. Wow. I hope that work has landed differently for you, or maybe you already had this awareness of work. I think too often, um, when I look at my day or look at what's showing up in my life, there's this drudgery of work because it's not connected to my play. But the more that I embrace the ands, the more that I embrace the fullness, the more that I embrace my what for or my why or the outcome that I want, showing up to work isn't difficult anymore. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. And I am so thankful to not just have friends, but have awareness of the work that I get to do. I would love to hear your comments. I would love to hear how this show and this conversation is landing with you, because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. See you tomorrow.